Welcome, everybody. We're going to talk briefly about Nobunaga's Ambition Sphere of Influence, released today or yesterday, whatever. I've been playing the game for the past 7 hours, and that's that might tell you sort of how I feel about it. Oh my God. Well, you talk about not disappointing. I went to GameStop because I live on the eastern coast of the United States of America. When they say, you know, that it's getting released, son, when I have a game I'm looking forward to, I'm on that PlayStation Store on midnight. But because I have no idea why it works, but if you get midnight releases at all, usually it's either right on midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning, which is of course midnight for the western coast of the United States of America. So I was up at 12 this morning, and I wanted to start the download so I could go to sleep. I felt terrible this morning. I had a pounding headache, everything. But I said, damn it, I'm gonna start this download so I have something for fun to do today. No, no, what wasn't on there. Didn't see it. I scoured. Put Nobu. If you put Nobu into the PlayStation search store, that's you're pretty much looking in the right area there. No, I got a few anime and a DLC for the Tenko something whatever the fuck game. Not what I was looking for, although the kitty Nobunaga looked just downright adorable. Tried again at 1:30. So maybe it was good to go at 12:05ish or whatever. I just hadn't checked, so I checked again. Checked again. Still feeling pretty bad at this point. Still feeling pretty bad. No, not on there. This point, I'm convinced it has to be good at 3. Check at 3:05. Nope, it's not on there. Check at 3:30 in the morning. It's not on there. So I went to sleep, and I had to get up at 12 to do something. There you go. I'm gonna tell you my whole fucking life story here, so strap in. So I did that, then went, checked, still wasn't on there. Still wasn't on there. So I said, fuck it. I'm going to GameStop. Get me a physical copy. I went down to GameStop. Went up to the dude, and by the way, to the dude who works at that GameStop that I'm talking about, if you happen to be watching this video, fuck you, buddy. Fuck you. You were rude and short to me. But I'll tell you about that here in a second. I went in there, and this woman and her little baby girl was cute as a button. She was uh, turning in a PS3. Opened the door for them. They went straight to the register. I said, well, fuck, that's going to be long. Every time I go in there, there's only one register. So I took me a second. I looked at all the new PS4 releases. I looked at all the new PS3 releases. Didn't have time to look at the Xbox stuff. And that lady was still up there talking. I couldn't find Nobunaga's Ambition everywhere. Everywhere. Which is true, but anywhere is what I meant to say. Wasn't in the news section. So I said, fuck it. They might not have it. But before I leave, I'm going to go up there to that counter and ask that dude. He was just typing on the computer. I said, hey, my man, you busy? He said, no, I'm just putting in our schedule for the week. How may I help you? And I don't know if he's being a smart ass about it or not. I've never worked at a GameStop, and I've never put in their schedule for the week on there. I said, do you have any Nobunaga's Ambitions, Sphere of Influences left? And I'll grant it that there's not many people that went out on release day to get this shit, and I know that. He said, for the PS4, I said, yeah. He said, well, we have one, but it's been pre-ordered. Mm-mm. Then the lady at the register helping the woman and her little girl over there, she looked at him, she said, ah, sell it to him anyway. So I got me that fucking Nobunaga's Ambition Sphere of Influence. And, you know, I took it home. I had to drop me a deuce, and then I've been playing. About ever since I took a break, or a few breaks, to relax my eyes a little bit because, boy, shit, a lot of the interface in this game has small writing, and I'm almost blind as a bat. I can't sit in the 6 or so feet, roughly odd, away from the television that I am. I can't really read it, so I had to scoot the chair up. Uh, and boy, sitting that close to television, it's hell on the eyes. So, of course, I'm back now, but now that I know all where the buttons are and stuff like that, I know what I'm doing without actually having to read. And then the cutscenes and stuff, of which there are a plenty in this game. Of which there are a plenty, and I love it. I love it. The history aspect of Nobunaga's Ambition, I probably wouldn't play the fucking game if it didn't have it. To be totally honest with you, it's very fun games. Seen a dude left a comment saying that his favorite Nobunaga's Ambition was Rise to Power. I agree. But admittedly, out of all of them, that probably has the least amount of overall strategy. Uh, Iron Triangle was still a lot of fun, and it was definitely more complex. This, I'd say, it's a mix of awesomeness and Rise to Power and Iron Triangle, and I mean that in the most nicest way possible. I haven't found a single thing about this game that I dislike. Actually, I take that back. To get the bios of officers in the game, you have to encounter them or recruit them to your forces. Now that I find tiresome, because also in this game there's 1,800 characters in the game. Historical officers now. Of course, that's not at one time, because as some grow old and die, some are born. And they have over 1,100 custom character slots. Jesus. But it is worth noting that out of those 1,000 or so character slots, you can only have 300 active in the game, which gives you a total, if you play from the first year, which they have taken it back, the first year in the game is 1534. I don't know what the end year is. It used to be 1651, if I recall. So you can only have 2,100 characters active through a single timeline in a single game. If you created that many characters, which, speaking of created characters, we need to talk about that as well. Biggest drawback of Rise to Power most definitely was its create a character thing, because the game was simply lacking in good portraits. And there was no way to unlock extra portraits in that game, something that they remedied in Iron Triangle, as they added in even more portraits while keeping a lot of the old ones. All the old ones, from what I can tell, are there. I didn't look extensively and, look back and say, oh, was that one in there? Me boot up the PlayStation 3 and check. No point in doing that. No point in doing that. But they got a lot of good portraits in the game now. A lot of good ones. I got me some custom characters going on right now. It's beast. Let's see. Any faults with it, really? I don't really know. You can still, if you want to make balanced characters and insert them into the game, you can still do that. And you can still make the absolute god characters that you actually can't do in some Romance of the Three Kingdoms games. And that is great. To have somebody in just easy mode, fucking 100, give them the best tactics and stuff like that. Something you could do in Iron Triangle that you actually can't do in this game is give them all the tactics. You actually can't do that. And there actually seems to be tactics that are gender specific as well. And obviously you can't. I forget one. It was Fema something. You aren't gonna give your boy, the Berserker warrior, man, that you're gonna give your berserker female warrior that, if that's what you want. I don't know. It's diverse, and thank Christ, alright, they took the fucking research system out of the game that dragged the game down in Iron Triangle. Oh man, some people will miss it, but the majority won't. As you know, I don't know. I had the game beat before I had most of the technologies. I know it's supposed to be that way, but at the same time, you wanted those really. Oh, I mean, what's the point of them then if you can't tech up and get certain advantages over others? The only one that really showed was either the cavalry or the naval. But this isn't about that game. It's about sphere of influence. I'm not gonna lie. I watched. They shared a video on Facebook about they called it a breakdown, which was a link to a pseudo review that had a link to a dude's YouTube video on it, which was 50 or so minutes, in which the guy explained how to play. That video, I'm so sorry, my man, but you actually made it all seem entirely too complicated. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there actually is an hour-long tutorial if you read all of it, instead of just skipping through, which I did. I actually did go through the hour tutorial. Congratulations, me. And the game is not very complicated at all. At all. Not to say that the game doesn't offer any challenge, especially at the harder difficulties. They have a lot of them in this game. There's easy, and you can you can even adjust how easy the game is, and how how hard medium is and how hard is, by altering how fast you get your gold. They have little different things in there. It's weird. You can make it to where enemy units just simply take more damage than yours, which I can't really say if that's a good idea or not, but the option is there if you want it. Uh, and of course, for your first couple playthroughs, that'd be good to have before you bump it up to a harder difficulty once you get more adept. That's what I love personally. You know, strategy games, which you can safely say that this is a strategy game. It has enough strategy elements that you most definitely should qualify it as a strategy game. I feel like, I mean, I don't feel, I know that sometimes it can just turn people away. It's like, look up, if you haven't played Europa Universalis 4, good luck spelling it, by the way. Watch a fucking video of that, alright? Now, you can watch several hours worth of content and still, and hell, you can play it for several hours as well, and not even know half of the stuff that you can view and do in the game. You aren't going to encounter that problem here. And like I said, with the modifiers on the difficulty, it's stuff, this is a totally different beast, but with Bloodborne or Dark Souls, there's one set difficulty that you must complete the game on. And I feel like that turns people away. Europa Universalis 4, to the best I can recall, haven't played it in 2 years. You couldn't adjust the difficulty on your opponents in that game either. I'm probably wrong about that. Probably wrong about that. It's nice to help people slide in. The tutorial has some wit in it as well. It's not very dry, to keep you invested if you're into that type of thing. I can't promise you that you will be entertained by some of the jokes, but uh, you know, Hideyoshi's shenanigans and whatnot. Let's see. Uh, I'm going to talk more about this. This is just sort of basic thoughts here. We're already 15 minutes in, but I love the game. I cannot wait to share it some. I don't think I'm going to do a full playthrough, but I will show highlights and some extras and stuff like that as videos. Because I'm not gonna lie, that probably is the one flaw of the game, is because they introduced that quest system where you can follow more of a historical timeline, which I personally am having a blast doing, playing. Right now I'm trying to get Yoshiaki to the capital, if you know that piece in time. Uh, and it's a very fun way to play the game. Or you can also just go hard, balls out, uh, kill everybody in your own order that you depict, and just say fuck history. I am your ruler, and you will bow to me, and conquer all of the entirety of Japan. If that's what you want, which is also a good option. You can disable the quest or just simply ignore them in game, or I shouldn't say ignore them in game. You can actually turn them off. Uh, or well, yeah, I said you can turn them off, but you can deny specific ones in game too. So if you want to do one thing, but that'll give you an advantage, but not the other, because it sets you down a path you don't want to go, you don't have to do that, which is great. Which is great. Uh, one other thing is, if you start in the first couple scenarios, the first one starts in 1534, the second one starts in 1541. In those sections of the game, no matter what clan you pick, you will most definitely be short on retainers. Uh, I I started as Nobuhide Oda, of course, the father of the. Hell, if you probably wouldn't be playing this game if you didn't know your history. At I played from 1534 to 1543, and not only was it really slow because I was waiting on the historical quest, but uh, at a lot of times I only had one or two people per base, which is, you get a lot more of them in this game than you do in any other, because you build and destroy castles in this game, which is crazy. You know, sections like Mino Province in uh, yeah, hell, in Iron Triangle, it was just the one castle. Uh, and then you could build a fortress at Ogaki, and I hope I'm not, if I mispronounce any of this stuff ever, I am so sorry. Very few of these things I've heard spoken out loud. And some of you people out there fucking studied Japanese and, you know, read the dictionary before you went to sleep every night, and read your history books and all that shit. I'm sorry. I have an interest in it, but not that much. Uh, but the point of it being is, Mino in this game, at any given time, there are at least 4 castles in it, which is more accurately correct, or history accurate is what I meant to say. Uh, uh, yeah, yeah. I'm so scattered brain right now. I'm excited. I'm so excited. The the bases in this game are pretty crazy. But at the same time, I say there are a lot of bases, but that doesn't necessarily complicate the game, as it's easy to upkeep each one, and they're still in the same provinces, so the actual area covered is still the same. Uh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Towns, they just naturally flourish. Well, they don't naturally flourish, but you don't have to do what you had to do in Rise to Power, which was, now that game really was difficult to maintain each individual place, because you had to develop buildings, make sure you build specific ones. You had to hold certain areas of the country to be able to build certain buildings, so on and such like that. That's been done away with, thank goodness. There's still a natural tier up system in terms of buildings and castle upgrades. Like for example, you have to have your city. Obviously, as it grows, you get more districts surrounding it. So depending on what your stats are, certain of those districts will unlock, and there will be a natural building that starts there. Like when it's a area dedicated to farming, a fair will appear, which makes the area more fertile. If you have one built for money, a blacksmith will appear once you reach a certain population, which will just multiply it. And then you can change that building to like an upgraded blacksmith or a rice store or whatever. And it's sort of sad, really, because towns, they, for the first time, it goes month to month like Romance of the Three Kingdoms instead of seasons, right? So maybe that's what it is, and it makes it seem like everything takes a lot longer than what it usually does. It probably doesn't. It's just from where they have slowed the game down in that sense. Speaking of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, uh, which I think it's 9, where there's a planning phase and then there is an action phase. There's also that in Iron Triangle, but this is more Romance of the Three Kingdoms than that was. My God, it feels good. It feels good. It's really welcome in this game too. Oh man, I can't wait. I'm gonna talk about this more some other time. The initial thoughts are great. Are great. Initial thoughts, fucking 22 minutes here. I'm loving the game. If you haven't played the game, go get the game. If you're in EU, I'm sorry when it comes out. I hope it comes out at midnight for you, and you can download that shit. You can go out to the store and get it your damn self. Go home, play this shit. Steam. People who are on Steam get those extra scenarios and the discount. I'm sure that's going to be a blast too. I can't imagine. Well, perhaps this would be more optimized for a mouse just due to the different tabs that they have. I haven't really felt like I had too much problem with it thus far. The game looks beautiful as well. It looks really nice. Uh, Biggest problem I've encountered as far as design goes is, like I said, the tiny letters, which isn't a big deal to a lot of people. It's just me because my glasses are too dirty and I don't want to clean them and wear them. I love you. Thank you. If you watch the whole video, give yourself a pat on the back. And I'll see you on the next one. Next video on the game will feature footage of the game. Alright? That's a promise. And it might be more of a tutorial type deal because I feel like I couldn't necessarily do it better, but maybe in a way that more people can relate with, as people who have played the games previously. I'll see you next time.